Hey everyone, and welcome to the Jack of All Trades podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Musso, and today is actually the 10th episode that I'm recording. So I think that's kind of crazy. That's kind of like the first small little landmark. I've been doing this for 10 episodes, which might not seem like that much, but 10 episodes, that's kind of an accomplishment. It's something that I actually stuck with so far, so that's pretty cool. If you've been with me since episode 1, that's great. That's amazing. You're the best. Thank you so much. If you haven't, if you've just joined me for a few, or if this is your first one, I would just recommend definitely going back to listen to the first episode because that's going to give you an idea of who I am and a little bit about the direction, I guess, that this podcast might go in. But anyways, so I've mentioned that I'm a college student. This is going to be a college themed episode because it was only a matter of time before I did one, and I'll probably do multiple at various points. But anyway, today I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of my college situation, the path that I sort of took, because I feel like this could be a helpful episode, not only for people that are maybe going to be starting their college journey soon or are about to, or, trying to make big decisions like that. This could be a good episode for you, could be some advice. Or, if that's not you, maybe you're just interested in hearing about it and hearing about my college story, because I think there's some pros and cons to the way that I did things, specifically with going to a community college first. And that's kind of the central topic of this episode, kind of just like, is community college worth it? Does it even make sense to, like, is it helpful or harmful to go first and then transfer? Kind of all of that, because I can share my experience, and I know that everyone's experience is different, but I want to share mine because that might help people make decisions, or it might just, entertain you for a little bit. Either one is fine, but join me anyways. So I started my college career. When you say college career, it sounds so official. I started college. I graduated high school in 2022 and then started college that same year. And I was one of the classes that benefited from, it was like a grant or like some sort of funding because of the pandemic. And so my class, and then, a couple classes after it, maybe the class before it. And then I don't know if it's still a thing. It might be just kind of a permanent thing now. I have no idea. But anyways, it was like this thing where you could get, I think it was up to 2 years of basically free community college. And you had to pay for like textbooks and stuff, I think. I don't remember exactly how it worked. I just know that it was like, you're going to save a lot of money if you choose to use it, because it could only be at a community college. I'm pretty sure it couldn't be at just like anywhere. And for those of you that might be outside of the United States or just aren't familiar, a community college is different from like a regular college or university. Sometimes in the size, but also it's usually a lot cheaper. And oftentimes for a community college, it's kind of like a stepping stone to other things. You can get your full degree at a community college. Lots of people do. I feel like it's especially common for the trades or even like certain healthcare degrees, I don't know, things like that. But a lot of times people will use community college as a stepping stone before going on to kind of hone in their major. So a lot of times nursing majors will kind of start there. You can get like 2-year degrees at community college, and maybe there's somewhere you can get 4-year degrees. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's basically just, it's usually cheaper. It's a good starting place, especially if you're someone that like doesn't really know what you want to do for your career or your major yet. You can kind of just do like a bunch of general classes at a community college to get the ball rolling. I wouldn't totally recommend that, but I guess, if that's an option for you, then it's something you can consider. But for me, mostly I did it because of that funding thing. It was like, well, why wouldn't you? And I actually only toured 2 colleges. I toured, I guess I can name drop, Central Maine Community College. That one is in Lewiston or Auburn. I think it's in Auburn, Maine. That's where I toured. And then I also toured Husson University in Bangor. And those were the only 2 colleges I toured, the only 2 colleges I applied to, and the only 2 colleges that I went to. So unlike some people, I did not go on a search far and wide across the country, applying for colleges, touring a bunch of colleges. I did not do that. I kind of knew it took me a while to figure out even what I wanted to do in college. And a class that I took senior year of high school kind of helped me figure out that maybe this route that I'm taking was kind of what I wanted to do. And my major right now is video and film production. So Hassan University had that degree, but I wanted to be away from home, but I didn't want to be like across the country away from home, you know? And sometimes in-state tuition is cheaper. So all of that stuff, Hassan was really the only closest school with my major. So I was like, I toured it, I liked it, let's just do that. But anyway, I did that first year of community college and I was living at home that year. And so that was helpful in the sense that I was saving a lot of money because I had like a 35-minute commute. So I wasn't living on campus, so I didn't have to pay for housing. I didn't have to pay for a meal plan. All of that stuff adds up. And then on top of that, I had the grant from the pandemic, like our whole class. So I did have some college expenses, but it wasn't like the full thing. And it saved a lot of money because Hassan University is a private college. And so it gets pricey. I definitely did save money by doing my entire first year at a community college. So that's one positive. There's plenty of negatives, but that's one positive, and that's really the main reason that I did it. And honestly, I think it was a good thing too, just for like me and my like physical health, because I think I've maybe touched on this a little bit in a few other episodes, but I started going through a lot of health issues and like physical and mental health issues that are still kind of ongoing today, but they started like at the end of 2022. So kind of most of the way through my first semester at that community college. And then were really bad in the spring, and stuff that I've since been able to manage a little bit through therapy and through things, but it was really, really bad. And so I think it was a good thing that I was able to be at home, because if I was away from home, like at the school that I'm at now, when all of that stuff was starting, I think it would have been horrible. I think I would have been at a complete loss for what to do, and I think I would have been really, really struggling. So from that standpoint, it was good. And also I was able to still have a job, like a part-time job, all of that school year, because the summer camp and after-school program I worked at through my karate dojo, they had several locations, including one that was just a few minutes from the community college. So I was able to work there a couple days a week still. So basically I commuted into town for like a couple days a week. My classes were all grouped together on a few specific days, and then I would also go to work on those days. And then the other days I would just be at home, and I did take a couple online classes both of those semesters too. So I only had a few classes I had to be in person for. And so it really did work out just fine. And I was able to still work and earn some money, because that is one thing that while I've been at Hassan for, the rest of my 3 years, I have not had time to have a job. And I'm sure that like if I really, really needed one, like I would have had to figure something out and make time for something. But like I'm already stressed enough as it is, and I genuinely like there's already not enough hours in the day, and my major is, and I'll do an episode talking about this too, but my major is such that like I am always constantly like, outside of my 3-hour classes that I have, it's like I'm filming, I'm editing, I'm planning, and the live broadcast, don't even get me started on how much time the live broadcasting stuff takes me. Like that takes up so much time out of my day. It's just hard to have time for a job, and that's why it was helpful to at least be able to do that for the first year, have a job while being in school. I know like the struggle is real when it comes to broke college kids, trying to manage like 3 jobs and all your classes and a social life, and it's crazy. It's crazy. So if that's you, I really sympathize with you for sure. Anyway, while I was at the community college, my major was technically general studies, and I kind of just picked whatever classes. So basically, I had met with an advisor or someone at Hassan University ahead of time to try and make sure that this would actually work for me to do a year at the community college and then transfer. And so I was basing all of my classes at the community college on the curriculum sheet at Hassan, which is where I knew I was going to be ending up. I did have some flexibility as far as that goes, but I was I had to make sure that everything was going to transfer and meet certain credits. And part of the problem was that the community college did not have my major. So I took mostly like general classes, and then I took like a graphic design class and like a film as literature class or something. Those two were a bit more major specific, but other than that it was just general classes, my like biology lab and my math class and my speech class and things like that, history classes. Like that was mostly what I was taking there. So it wasn't an enjoyable year curriculum wise at all. Honestly, I kind of despised it. I hate math. I hate science. The history classes I was taking, each of those were only a half semester. So it was really, really condensed and they were online and it was so much work. So I didn't like that either. I had to take a business class. It was not an enjoyable year curriculum wise. And on top of that, being at a community college, this isn't necessarily because it was a community college. It more had to do with the fact that I was a commuter. I was not really involved on campus at all. And like I have people that graduated from my same school, my same class, also went to the community college, but they lived on campus and like played sports there and were doing their full degree there for the most part. And so they were like a lot more involved. And so you definitely can get involved. There is a community there and there are people that live on campus and that is their college experience. But for me, I was kind of just like passing through. And so I also didn't really try to make friends or like get too attached to anyone because in my mind, I was like, I'm only here for a year, so like why even bother? I might as well save all that effort for the college that I'm then going to be at for the rest of the time. So I mean, I made some acquaintances like in a few of my classes and like was friendly with people, but I wasn't like making friends, I was basically just doing what I had to do to get by. That was actually a really lonely year. Like I was living at home. My brother was away at college because he's older than me. And basically I was living at home. I was in my room doing homework for my classes, and then I would go to classes, and then I would go to work, and then I would come home, and then it was like, I'd go to the karate dojo or church or whatever. But other than that, like I wasn't really doing anything with anyone like in terms of actual fun stuff. Like I didn't the friends that I kind of grew up with and like graduated high school with, like I didn't really stay in contact with them afterwards. Like everyone kind of just drifted away, not from each other necessarily, but like at least from me. So I just like I didn't really have people that I was hanging out with. And it was a really lonely year. And on top of that was dealing with all of the physical and mental health issues. And it was just like, it was a really, really rough time. Again, I just treated it like I was just passing through. So if that's one thing that like being a commuter versus being on campus, it's really so different. And if you're a commuter, you really have to like force yourself to get involved if you want to actually make friends and be part of the community and have fun and have the full college experience. Otherwise, you really are just going to be like an outsider. So that's definitely like one piece of advice that I would have. And the same thing is definitely true at like my college now at Husson. The students that are commuters, like even within my major, I'm talking about because I know them personally, like some of them have expressed how they feel like they're never on campus to just like hang out with people in between times and whatnot. Because when you're on campus, you're much more likely to just like run into friends or acquaintances or classmates wherever, whether it be in the dining hall or in, the building where your classes are, or just walking around or in the dorms or anywhere. And so if you're off campus, it's like you have to come to school specifically for something. You're, not very often just going to be kind of hanging out there. Like that has to be a conscious choice of like, I'm going to go and I'm just going to hang out at the school for a bit. So I don't know. It just, the commuter students, like I just haven't gotten to know as much because they're not here. And it's just like such more of an inconvenience if they have to come in and do something like related to our major because, we have a lot of projects and whatnot outside of class for our video stuff. And it's like, they can't just walk over from the dorms and like give you some feedback on the editing. Like it has to be a special trip to campus. And I don't know, it's just like, it's a totally different feeling. And there's a lot that you miss out on, honestly. Like there's so much that those commuter students aren't at school for, whether it's just like fun little events here or there, or just like interactions that you would have with the people that do just happen to be around because they're on campus. Like, it's really different. And so if you are going to live off campus, you really have to make more of an effort if you want to still be involved and keep up with those friendships and everything. So I don't know. It's just like different. There's nothing wrong with it, obviously. And if that's what you want to do, then that's totally fine. I just personally prefer being on campus because I feel like I'm much more a part of the community that way. And it's also just a convenience thing for me. Like for my major, I can't even tell you the number of times that I'd be over at the building that most of my classes are in, NESCOM, New England School of Communications, but I'd be over at the NESCOM building until it closes at 1 a.m., just editing or like working on things. And, you know, if I had to be driving to campus every time I needed to run over to NESCOM, I would be putting so many miles back and forth on my car. Like, it would be crazy. So from a convenience standpoint, there's a lot of reasons why being on campus is better for me, but to each their own. And that's just, you know, one big difference that for me at my community college, I was a commuter and I was only there for 1 year and I knew that. And so it made it so that I wasn't really getting involved that much. On top of that, there's also just some other complications that it brought into the picture. You know, if you just go right away to your 4-year college or your, you know, however many years you're going to be there, if you just go there right away and then you follow the typical curriculum sheet, like they have it planned out for you in a way that makes sense and is going to work for you to graduate with the credits that you need. But if you're already coming in as a transfer student, like being a transfer student is kind of weird because first of all, you don't like know anybody when you first get there. I'm kind of like switching topics real quick, but I'll get back to the other stuff later. Being a transfer student, like when you get there, you don't really know anyone. And it's just like everyone else has already had a year to figure out the campus and to bond with each other and to make memories and connect with the instructors. And it's just, you're new. And so it can kind of put you in a weird place where you're like, you're not a freshman, you're not a new college student, but you're new at that school. And so it's kind of this weird dynamic where people might at first kind of treat you like you're a freshman, but then they realize like, oh, you're actually just transferring from a different school. And then you slowly start to get to know the people in your major, but you might not be on the same progression with the people that are technically in your class because you transferred. And so that's kind of what happened to me a little bit, where I transferred in with, I did a bunch of my general credits, like I said, at the community college, meaning that once I got to Husson, I didn't really have very many general credits left that I had to do, like the general electives. So therefore, it was like all of my video classes pretty much I still had left. I still had to take those. And so the way the curriculum sheet is designed, it's meant to be a little more spread out, a little more balanced, you know? It's like 1 or 2 video classes per semester, and then the rest are like general things. Well, that's not really how I did it because I couldn't, because I already had so many general things done and out of the way that it's like, okay, well, now I just have these video classes. And for the most part, it worked out, but there are some things that are like a prerequisite for other classes. So like you can't take them at the same time. So you do still have to take them in the order. And you do sometimes run into complications where it's like, okay, this class is only offered in the spring, or this class is only offered in the fall, or, you know, where it's somewhere like Husson, which is a pretty small school anyways, but then I feel like the video program is like shrinking rather than growing. I don't know, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just my perception, but it's like sometimes classes end up being kind of canceled last minute because of lack of enrollment. Like that did happen to me one semester, which is actually for the best though, because they got a better instructor after that. So it was fine. It was a happy coincidence, but yeah, it's just like, it might mess up your schedule a little bit because I also had a couple credits from high school. Like I took some AP or dual enrollment college classes in high school for like my English and my math and things like that, history, whatnot. And then I also did take like my psychology class, which was a general requirement. I took that online as a college class in high school because so many people, there's like this big push to get college credits while you're in high school. And while I do understand that and I do see the benefit, and it's like, oh, you're saving money because you're not going to have to do these in college if you do them now, like through your high school, through taking an AP class or a dual enrollment class. And it's like, yes, I mean, if you get a good grade and whatever and you get the college credit, then sure, you're technically saving money, but if it's going to mess your schedule up in college to the point where you're still going to have to stay the same amount of time anyways and just fill with like other classes to be like a full-time student if you need the financial aid from that or whatnot, it's like then you're not really saving money. You're kind of just messing up your schedule and causing yourself more pressure and stress while you're in high school. And so that's kind of what happened to me. So when I transferred in to Hassan, I transferred in with already quite a few credits because I had all of my credits from the first year, and then I also had some credits from all of my high school classes. And so my advisor and like everyone in the offices that, do these things, they like assign the credits to like fill in my curriculum sheet and try and make things match up as best they could. And so pretty much everything did transfer. I mean, I had to actually have quite a few meetings with my advisor and he had to send out like a bunch of emails on my behalf, but eventually like it all worked out. But I first of all, it meant because I had to do so many video classes all together in the same semesters, like I mentioned, it was kind of like I was trying to fit 4 years of a video program into 3 years. And so and like everyone that knows me from school can probably attest to this. And like all of my instructors too, everyone's just like, they hear what classes I'm taking, like at any given point in a semester. And they're like, wow, like that, why are you doing that to yourself? Like, that's crazy. Taking those specific classes together at the same time is like a crazy workload. And that's why I basically don't have free time when I'm at school. Like, I genuinely, there's never enough hours in a day, and I'm always up super, super late doing work. And then I'm up early for classes or video shoots or broadcasts or like literally anything. And so I'm just, yeah, I'm excessively busy. And I mean, my major, there is a lot of work outside of classes anyways, but because of the classes that I had to take at once instead of spreading them out, it just like doubled that. It made it so much worse. And I mean, that's a blessing and a curse, and like not everyone can handle that. I luckily have the work ethic to where I can handle it, but just because I can handle it doesn't mean that it's enjoyable, because I would like to have the college experience. And when I say the college experience, I'm not talking about like going out and drinking and partying and doing all these things. Like, I have zero interest in any of that. I just mean like the college experience of being in the dorms, eating in the dining hall, like with your friends, making friends, being with people on campus, going to hang out in the campus center and playing pool at 11 o'clock at night, or just going on a walk with some friends, or like just hanging out, doing stuff like going to all the fun events on campus. Like, I don't have that much time. And so trying to do those things also like just packs my schedule even more. And I just want to be able to have that experience. Every college student and like adult ever, when I was in high school and they were talking about college, they're like, you have so much free time in college. Like you have so much more time than you do in high school. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And listen, I'm sure that some people do. Some of the majors at my school, I'm not going to be mean and like name drop those majors. Some of the majors, they're like, yeah, I got all my homework done for the week on Sunday. So I'm like always bored. I'm always free. So just let me know when I'm like, how? Literally how? I don't understand. I never have that free time. Like, I anyway, so maybe some people have more time in college. I definitely do not. I was busy enough in high school, and college has just been even crazier. So that's partly has been a product of me transferring schools. Like I said, partly my own fault, but I didn't totally foresee that happening. First of all, I didn't really think that that's how it would turn out. But yeah, it's confused my schedule a little bit when it comes to when I'm going to be graduating. So at Husson, you choose your classes for the next semester partway through the semester before, and sign up for those. You meet with your advisor, you figure out your plan, you figure out what's going to be offered, and then you have an assigned day where you have to wake up literally and do it right at 6 a.m. because it's a bloodbath sometimes. Like, it's so competitive getting into certain classes. So if you don't wake up right when it opens, then you might be losing out. So you have to do that. And when I sat down with my advisor this past spring, so spring of 2020, what year are we in? 2020. Whoa, that's crazy. 2025, right? Yeah. I don't know why I almost said 2024. That's wild. But spring of 2025, sat down with my advisor and looked at what I still had left to take, what I still needed for credits, and what I already had. As it turned out, the amount of credits left that I needed was going to be way too much to fit into just one semester, but not even close to what I needed to fit into 2 semesters. And so it was like not even close to, it was like, okay, well, I could take like 1 or 2 classes in the spring, but then I wouldn't qualify for financial aid because I wouldn't be a full-time student. And so it would be a ton of money to like live on campus and be paying for the dorm, be paying for the meals, but then paying for the classes and not having financial aid. Like, that's thousands of dollars that I can't afford. But also because my commute is like an hour and 20 minutes one direction. And so it's like a half tank of gas just for me to go to school and back. And especially in the winter, like if the weather was a factor and depending on what classes I'm taking, if it's like a video class, well, I need to be able to just be around on campus to film stuff, to edit. Like, commuting is not a realistic option for me, even if it's just a couple days a week. So I was having such a dilemma about what do I do? And so eventually we figured out that I would fit pretty much everything into the fall semester. And then there were 2 classes that I would have to take online and do that over the summer. And then I would graduate in December. And I was actually kind of devastated, to be honest, to have that discussion and to make that decision because I didn't want to graduate in December. And like pretty much everyone that I told at any point after that of like, yeah, so I got like 1 semester left, graduating in December, everyone was like so excited and like, oh, congratulations, like that's exciting, like graduating early. And I was like, no, it's actually not to me. Like, yeah, there would have been pros to it. Like, my advisor said, when people are looking for jobs, everyone's looking for jobs during like the usual graduation time, but you're a lot more likely to find stuff if or like less competition if you're looking in December after you graduate. So there is that. Plus, I mean, you are saving money because that's a whole semester that you're then not going to have to pay for room and board and all these classes and stuff. So from that standpoint, yes, it is beneficial. But I was not ready to miss out on, I was like, I already felt like my time at Husson was getting cut so short because when I got to Husson, I finally like made some good friends and started like feeling like I really had this sense of community at this school. And so I was like, I already only have 3 years. Like, I missed out on the whole first year. And it's so funny or like also kind of sad, low key, to hear sometimes some of the friend group talking about like stuff that happened the first year when I wasn't there. And luckily, my roommate from last school year, she also transferred in the same year as me. And then we met in one of the clubs we were in. But we were in pep band together. Just figured I'd clarify because I'm not talking about like a dancing partying club, but pep band. We met in pep band and we both kind of had that similar experience of like we transferred in and we were missing out on that whole first year, and then people would talk about stuff and we were like, no, I have no idea. Like, I don't get the inside joke. Like, I wasn't there. So that was kind of sad. But anyway, so I already felt like my time was getting cut so short, and I was like, so now you're telling me I'm only going to be here for 2.5 years, not even 3. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to miss out. That was the decision that had to be made, and I ended up having to I did it. That's what I decided to do, was graduate in December. I would still walk with everyone at graduation in the spring because I was like, I am not missing that. Are you kidding? Like, absolutely not. I need to be there at the actual graduation ceremony. Like, I just have to be. So that was the plan. Until until my summer classes actually started this summer. And they were both online classes, but summer classes, a lot of them are like only a half like semester technically, whatever. So it's like half the summer, and both of these classes happened to be the second half of summer, not the first, or not like one in each half. They're both the second half of summer. And so they're already like condensed courses, meaning it's kind of like having 4 classes because you're basically doing each class in half the amount of time that you normally would be. So, second half of summer was also the busiest half of summer for me. As you know from some of the last couple episodes, if you've listened, like I did a lot of traveling. And on top of that, I still had work when I was home and still had karate and still had church and then trying to get ready for going back to school and all these things. And so the classes started the week before I did my traveling, like to Tennessee and all those places. And literally day one of those classes, day one, that particular day, I didn't have to go to work and I just had karate in the evening. But like all day, I was working on homework and trying to get organized about all the things that those classes had. And so then I didn't even get to go to karate that evening because I was still working on assignments, and like there was so much that was due, and it was like there's stuff due Wednesday, there's stuff due Thursday, and there's stuff due Sunday, and like it was just a crazy, crazy amount. I cannot even explain to you how much it was. Like it was absolutely insane, and I was completely overwhelmed, because I was thinking about, okay, like next week I'm leaving for these trips, and like, when am I going to have time to do all this stuff? Like even in a week where I am pretty much just going to be home and just like working most of the days, I don't know how I'm going to fit this stuff in, much less when I'm traveling and doing all these things. And then like, when I'm at my church convention, I'm not going to be like on my laptop all day. Like I'm not going to have it with me. I'm not going to have Wi-Fi. Like how am I going to do this? And I like felt so sick that whole day. I was like really stressed. I was freaking out. And then, so the way it was working, because I was only taking 2 classes, it was like I didn't qualify for financial aid because it's only 2 classes. So we were paying for those out of pocket anyways. So that night, my dad actually was like, you know what? If you were planning to walk at graduation in the spring anyways, and you didn't want to be a December grad, and there's no way you're going to have time for these summer classes right now, why not just take those 2 classes in the spring semester? Like, no, you wouldn't qualify for financial aid then, but you're not now either. Like, it's the same difference. You're going to pay for it out of pocket either way. So why not just do it then? And then you could either, have like a part-time job at home or not, but either way, like that would be way less stressful. And I was like, wait a second, you might be onto something. So I immediately texted my advisor. And so I love my advisor. He's the absolute best. He will do anything for his students. It's great. And so I was on the phone with him at like 11 o'clock at night that night, like telling him the whole situation. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, and so we were looking to see if the classes would be offered in the spring because that would be the only thing like kind of hindering it. And it looked like they would be. So I was like kind of scared to do this because it's a big decision, but I was like, okay, drop me from the classes. I just can't do it. And seriously, best decision that I've made in a long time. Best decision. Like there is absolutely no way that I would have even had time for the amount of work that was in one of those classes, much less 2. So best decision ever. Plus what that means is that in the spring semester, I'll still technically be a student, even though I'll be not on campus. So yes, I will still be like missing out on, that spring semester with everyone, but I'll be able to like come and help out with broadcast, like video events and like here and there. I'll still be able to head up to campus here and there for stuff. Like hopefully that's the plan. That's the goal. And plus my like best friend and roommate graduated this past year. A bunch of other friends and acquaintances graduated this past year. And then a bunch of others that are like going to be graduating in my year, they moved off campus for this final year. So it's like I am already feeling like I'm going to be pretty lonely. And so, it's not like I'm missing out on that much in terms of that in the spring semester. But yeah, it's interesting, because this is just a weird amount of credits that I transferred in with. So that was another thing about being a transfer student that did kind of mess me up. So I guess like long story short, or not long story short, because this is not a short story, but like moral of the story is sometimes going to a community college first is the right answer. It can save you a lot of money, and if it's close to home, it can be a good stepping stone for people that maybe are a little bit more hesitant to move out and be away from home. Like it can be an easier transition into the college experience, but it can also it can it can mess up your schedule depending on if that community college offers a lot of the classes that you need for your major or not. Because if it does, then it's not really a problem. But if it doesn't, like me, and you have to do mostly general stuff, then that's going to cause a lot of complications in your schedule when you get to where you're going. And like for me too, a lot of the people that were technically in my class were ahead of me in the curriculum when I transferred to Husson, because when I got there, I had to start with like video 1 and like, the basic classes, and everyone else had already taken those, obviously their freshman year. So I ended up being in classes with a lot of the actual freshmen. It's kind of like evened out now to where I've still taken plenty of classes with people in my actual class. But at first it was just kind of a weird first few semesters, because it was like, again, I had to do a lot of networking. I didn't really know anyone. I was new, but I wasn't new to college. And it just put me in kind of a weird spot. But it worked out. It worked out. I definitely don't want to discourage you from, if you're in the position where you're trying to make a decision about whether to do this, I don't want to discourage you from it or like one way or the other. Just what I'm saying is like, do your research. It can be helpful to talk with there's people that are specifically in charge of like transfer student stuff when it comes to colleges. So like talk to them, talk to someone that like could potentially be an advisor. Just try and figure out if it would actually work and make sense for your schedule to transfer in before you make that decision, because you might end up with a situation like mine that kind of got complicated really fast, and there's pros and cons to it. But overall, I mean, I think everything turned out just the way it's probably supposed to, and it will all be for the best, and it is what it is. I can't change it now, so I just gotta get through this last semester that is, a jam-packed, absolutely crazy semester, like very stressful, very busy, loaded schedule. I'm really gonna, try my best to have a balance between taking time for myself and doing everything, but knowing me, that's really hard to do. Do my best, but it'll be what it's gonna be. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's about that time to wrap it up. So hopefully you at least got an interesting insight into kind of what that looks like for that process of starting at a community college, then transferring. Like I said, it's different for everyone, but that was just my experience, and maybe you got some insight as far as planning purposes for yourself. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you're having a great day and a great week and a great weekend whenever you're listening to this. I will talk to you next time. And again, thank you for everyone that's been listening since day one. And feel free to leave a comment, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're on YouTube, or make sure that you're following this podcast on Spotify, or that you're subscribed to my channel on YouTube so that you don't miss out, because your support means a lot. So thanks for your support, and I'll talk to you guys next time.